Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday Wisdom with Teri Secrest and Elizabeth Rose. We are so happy to be here with you today. And we are taking a tour of the Young Living Farms. So let me get us up on Facebook and get us going, and we will get started here today. Super excited. What I thought we would do today is actually use the resources that we have, which are two of them. Mother shared that all of the farms are in the product guide. So she's looking at the descriptions in the product guide, which if you have one, you can pull yours out as well. I'm also going to bring up, so we can see it large on our screen, the Seed to Seal website, seedtoseal.com. And this is the best place to actually share with folks all about our farms. And so I have used this so many times when someone says, well, what makes your essential oils better than someone else's oils? And the fact of the matter is, we own our own farms, and Young Living has many partner farms around the world. And you can go visit the partner farms. I grabbed a few photos, so let me share those real quick, because this is just a fun aspect of, what we have gotten to do over the years is actually go to the farms during convention each year. And if anybody else on here wants to share about their farm experience, would absolutely love to hear about it, because so many of our team have been to the Young Living Farms and had amazing experiences, as well as even helping with plantings and harvestings. So this is one of my all-time favorites that we've been to probably, what would you say, Mom, at least 15 times?
At least 15, 20 times. Yes. Yeah.
I think I counted a total of 15 times, and somewhere there's a photo of me when I'm about 10 years old with Daniel and Joseph, and we're sitting by the visitor center. And it's just amazing to think of being so young, getting to do the farm experience, and now working with Young Living.
Hey, Elizabeth, I want to add something about this, is that years and years ago, good gracious, maybe 20 years ago, I was blessed to be in Gary and Mary Young's home. And we were visiting, and Gary said, Teri, I'm so excited. I have to show you something. And he pulled out this huge map and laid it out on the dining room table and said, this is my vision for Mona, Utah. This is what we're going to do. And at that time, the vision was so big, I truly am embarrassed to tell you, I couldn't imagine it. And I thought maybe Gary was just joking, like this was just some joke or whatever. And I said, well, Gary, that looks pretty darn amazing. But when I went there last year, Elizabeth, I had the biggest deja vu, because everything on Gary Young's huge map had come to fruition. Yes. And that is so thrilling. And we are the beneficiaries, because we grow about at least 10 different plants on this particular farm.
So here we go. I just went to Global Farms and clicked on the Global Farms map, and you can see the entire world, and each of these pins are where we have farms.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I've been blessed to go to eight of these farms so far. Christina, have you been to any outside the U.S.? I'm trying to remember. Have you been to the French
Teri,
farm?
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, well, of course. I've been to Ecuador a number of times.
Yeah. Ecuador, yes, of course.
A number of times. I've been both to the spa, and I was at Gold Club. I was at Platinum Club. So yeah, I got to experience that. Plus, you and I worked together, and not Northern Lights, but up by Sandpoint, Idaho, Highland Flats.
Highland Flats Farm. Yes.
And I have some incredible pictures of you, Teri, driving the horses and bringing the trees out of the woods. And
oh, wow.
There is nothing like our farms, and working at them, being part of the distillation process, smelling, the trees and the there's just nothing like it. Everyone should take an opportunity, take a summer vacation, take a winter vacation, and go to British Columbia. Ken and I have that on our bucket list. We really want to go up there and see the Northern Lights. And we know that the energy of those Northern Lights really make a difference in our oil.
Yes, yes. Very good point. Very good point. And also, speaking of the winter harvest, I did not think that I would actually like it because I'm not a fan of cold weather. But when we worked up in Idaho together, Christina, those cabins we stayed in were so toasty warm, and minus the snoring of some member of our party. No mention of any names.
It would
at
be
all.
me.
What's so
Too
funny
funny.
is I'm such a light sleeper, so I was awakened by this lovely sound, and I was awake until 3 in the morning. And I finally went to sleep at 3, and at 7, Christina is shaking my bed. Get up, get up. What do you think this is? And I only slept for 4 hours. And I'm like, anyway, it was the camaraderie of all of it.
Oh, the memories. Oh, the memories.
It's so fun. It's so fun. I do think a family vacation with your children would be truly, truly life-giving and fun and working together. We remember, Elizabeth, I remember I saw a photo of you and Daniel and Joseph and me and all of us stomping. We were inside the distillery stomping on the lavender together. And I mean, it's just so fun. But Christina, I got to tell a story on Christina, because at the Highland Flats farm, this is it right here, up in Idaho, Christina Campbell had a chainsaw and she was cutting the trees down with a chainsaw. I look over there and I'm like, who is that? You know, who is that over there? And she turns around and it was Christina. I'm like, oh my
Too
God.
funny.
I love that work. I love that work. That is just such great work.
It's so amazing. And Christina, I'm sure you would agree with this too. At the end of that week that we were up in that particular place, because back then they didn't have a distillery there. Gary had to drive the truck 120 miles to get to the distillery with all the chippers from the trees. Anyway, long story short of it,
right,
is the fact that after that experience, and at that time, that oil was $57 for a 15 milliliter bottle at that time, the Idaho balsam fir, which is now grand fir. I came away thinking I would spend any amount of money on that oil. I don't care how much it is, because when you see what goes into one little bottle of oil, you see what had to happen to make that oil happen. You realize that our oils are not expensive. Our oils are actually very, very affordable. Yeah.
I have to agree.
Christina, and didn't you get in the kitchen with Gary or somebody? You and I were in the kitchen a lot cooking. We did a lot of cooking together.
Yeah, you made your pies and we made pizza and oh my gosh. And yeah. we cooked most everything on a wood stove.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to tell this quick story just because, you know, we appreciate Gary so much. I remember that I think it was the first time that I went up to Highland Flats and I was getting up to cook. I cooked with Gail Stanford and we'd have to get up at like 5 a.m. and stoke the fire. And I heard somebody chopping wood on the side of the hall. And I thought, who in the world would be up at this hour? The sun was barely peeking over the trees. And I rounded the corner and lo and behold, it was Gary chopping kindling for the fire. And I thought to myself momentarily, what CEO on the entire planet of the earth would be out at 5:30 a.m. chopping kindling to feed his workers? I mean, that left an impression on me like no other. And all I could say was, good morning, Gary. You're up awfully early.
Christina, that is so beautiful. So here's one more from that same farm. One more was another morning. I heard this big noise and it was right around 5:30, maybe 6, between that time. Looked out the window and Gary Young was on a DC Caterpillar, this huge, I don't know if you call it a DC-10 or what you call it. He was building a road. He was building a road all by himself out there at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I had that same thought, what CEO do we know? And then later on at night, be putting his kids to bed, reading them a story, at 10 o'clock at night. What CEO do we know? So I would have to say, Christina, you and I were very blessed to have that time with him. And, there's so many beautiful farmers on each of our farms that are carrying that torch forward. Each of the farm managers around the world are just as passionate as Gary. They love our land, they love our plants, and they are carrying that torch forward. And many of them knew Gary, and so they had those experiences with him, but now they're on their own and they're carrying it forward. So Elizabeth, let's move very quickly through each of the farms. There's probably somebody on this Facebook Live that actually doesn't realize how many farms we have.
Oh yeah, let me pull it back up here. And along the lines of stories in St. Mary's, I remember one summer when our whole family, you, Daniel, Joseph, myself, went up there. We helped with the Melissa harvest.
Yes.
And after a full day of work, we all just sat out on the lawn, and Mary was out there and their boys, Joseph and Jacob, for a while. And then after that, Gary came and was telling stories, and it just felt so surreal to be up in the mountains at the farm, everybody sitting around talking, hanging out. At one point, somebody started a song. And so for about 30 minutes, all of us chimed in and we were singing musicals.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that.
Music and like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And we probably busted out some Christmas tunes. I don't know, but because Mary loves singing, the boys love singing, I love singing, we just went at it. And that was such a special moment.
I remember that very clearly, honey. Thank you for sharing that. Okay.
So, alrighty. So here is the Northern America farms. Check this out. So first, look at all of the 9 farms that we have in North America. So here, of course, like we mentioned, the Young Living Lavender Farm and Distillery. What's beautiful is you can see, if a new person's coming on here, you can see a little bit of a description of the farm here, as well as farm facts. So this farm fact is the Mona Lavender Fields and Farms span nearly 1,600 acres. And the location is home to one of the largest privately owned essential oil distilleries in the world.
Wow.
So then the Skywriter Wilderness, and you've been here, Mother. I have not, but there are some beautiful animals that roam around the farm. And this is actually where einkorn is grown.
Exactly. And this is where our beloved Gary Young is. This is his burial spot, very special place. And it truly is in the wilderness. And this is where Gary used to take his sons on horseback. He would take them wilderness camping all the time. And so it's just a little piece of heaven on earth. And guys, if anybody watching today has not been experimenting with einkorn as your main source of food, you really want to start immediately. This is a powerhouse for your family's health. Young Living has so many good cookbooks that tell you how to use the einkorn and why you should use it and not be using the typical genetically modified wheat that we get in America. So please take time to get involved in using einkorn.
So then let's see, we had the Skywriter Wilderness Ranch, and then there's the Skywriter River Ranch. So this ranch is a new addition to the Tabiona Ranch family, and it's located near Young Living Skywriter Wilderness Ranch. It's a beautiful land dedicated to furthering essential oil research. Purchased in 2017, the ranch grows many botanicals for essential oil research. So this is one thing that Young Living is huge on as well, is the research factor of things. And what's beautiful is when I went to the headquarters in Mona, Utah, where our offices are at, they're also doing a lot of research there at that little office. So we got to go in, and a gentleman was giving us a whole explanation of how they're composting. And they're
Mhm.
actually using the leftovers of the plants and distillation process in the composting. So that's really neat. How about I
Mhm.
share this video, Mom, because it's
Oh,
so
yes.
beautiful.
Yes, I'd love it.
Okay, here's our St. Mary's Lavender Farm in Idaho. So then a little bit about environmental stewardship. And here, the Highland Flats Farm, like we talked about in Naples, Idaho.
Mhm.
This is where we get our Idaho Blue Spruce, Idaho Grand Fir, and White Fir essential oil plants from.
If you've never smelled white fir, you haven't lived.
So good. And then the Northern Lights Farm and Distillery in Fort Nelson, Canada.
Mhm.
So this is interesting. In 2014, after scouting and researching to find the best possible location, Young Living purchased land in British Columbia, Canada for the Northern Lights Farm. The pristine land is free of synthetic chemicals and fertilizers, and thanks to its relatively untouched nature prior to Young Living's ownership, it is very, very clean and goes along with our Seed to Seal standards.
Mhm.
So a few blends that utilize this black spruce oil is actually Shutron, Harmony, Awaken, and Envision.
Yes.
So it is such a staple in those blends. Now here, Hawaii, you've been to this farm, haven't you, Mom?
Oh, yes. And this is a glorious farm for sandalwood. Oh, my goodness. It's glorious.
A fun fact of the sandalwood trees is that they actually have to be, quote me if I'm correct, 80% dead before you can harvest them. And
Mhm.
that's when you get the best medicinal properties out of the sandalwood essential oil.
Mhm. Yes.
And here it says, at this location, only dead or dying sandalwood is harvested to maintain the ecological balance on the island and to follow the deeply rooted Hawaiian belief in humans' respectful relationship with the land.
Oh, Elizabeth, I want to bring something up here. If anybody has ever used the sandalwood, okay, what's the little floral water called? What's the official name that
Oh,
we call it?
hydrosol,
Like
sandalwood
hydrosol.
hydrosol.
Yeah. So if you've never used it, please put this on your next Essential Rewards order. This is the byproduct from the distillation. It is the floral water. It is absolutely exquisite for your skin. And you can add some essential oils into the floral water. It comes in a beautiful spray bottle. You can add some other essential oils, such as frankincense, things that you like for your skin, and use it to spritz it on your face. My goodness, you're going to absolutely fall in love with it. So be sure to put that hydrosol on your order.
Yes. And I just started using it. I hadn't used it before about a week ago, but it is amazing. Now this one, Lebanon Partner Distillery, is in White Swan, Washington. And this is a fascinating description because this partner distillery has been producing world-class mint oil at its family-run facility since 1940s. With 4 strategic locations that include a distillery at its main location, the Washington, and warehouses and blending capabilities in other locations, Laba Mint provides a scalable, sustainable mint source.
Yeah. So that's fantastic, because there was a time when we had a little bit of a shortage of mint until we actually partnered with this farm. So very, very grateful for this farm.
So they have peppermint and spearmint on that farm. Now here is one that is so gorgeous. I look forward to going to this one day.
Yeah.
And at this farm, they have grapefruit and lime. So I'm going to play this video and check this out. We are going to go back up to Global Farms and go to South America.
Okay.
Because here we have Ecuador, Finca Botanica Farm and Distillery in Changong, Ecuador.
Oh, let's let Christina tell us about this farm. Christina, I have never been to the Ecuador farm.
Wow, there's so many oils.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh my gosh.
I know.
So the highlight of this farm, I feel, is the ylang-ylang orchards.
Oh.
They're just rows and rows and rows of ylang-ylang, and they actually top the trees to keep them shorter so that they can pick the blossoms.
Okay.
And the blossoms are really unique in that, well, for one thing, they're so fragrant that they make you dizzy. I mean, it's just it is just overwhelmingly beautiful. But the flower itself, we know when to pick them when the center of the yellow petals turns blood red. And that's very interesting because it looks like a yellow dogwood.
Wow.
In a way.
Wow.
And so, for the Christians out there, every time you pick a blossom of ylang-ylang, you think of, the sacrifice that was made for us.
Yes.
I felt like that anyway.
Wow.
Some other really unique things about the Ecuadorian farm is this is where our Ecuadorian chocolate comes from.
Yes.
So if you eat the einkorn bars, with the drizzled chocolate over it, that's Ecuadorian chocolate. We also have specific different oregano that's grown there. Our beautiful eucalyptus blue comes from there.
Palo Santo.
The Palo Santo comes from there, and you can go to the Palo Santo. I call it a sanctuary because it's where Gary and his family used to have church every Sunday. They would go up to the Palo Santo woods, and they would have a church in that little clearing where the dead Palo Santo is. And like the sandalwood, Palo Santo has to lay on the ground for X amount of years before they can actually distill it. And Palo Santo in English means holy wood. So these are some of the highlights of this state-of-the-art distillery. And of course, Gary and Mary and the boys stayed there for 6 years to build this farm. And I had Mary tell me a story about how when he was digging the pond and the rains came and they were afraid they were going to lose all the land from flooding. Again, Gary was on his DC-10 or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And he was out making a dam to protect the land all by himself. And she used to say to him, Gary, this is crazy. This is absolutely insane. You don't need to be out there alone, risking your life, but that's who Gary was. So that farm exists only because of him.
Truly. That's so astounding. Wow. And I have to say that it was while they were living in Ecuador for a few years, that little Joseph, who now just turned 18, Joseph Young, gained a love for the Young Living Foundation because he saw his parents model what it means to take care of people, widows and orphans, and what it means to build a school and what it means to take care of the local workers. And now Joseph is a champion for the Young Living Foundation work around the world. And it all started when they lived here and of course became bilingual. So thank you, Christina. Wow. Ylang-a-lang, guys, I'm just saying, for anybody that's married, and if you're not married, cover your ears. But if you're married, ylang-a-lang is an aphrodisiac. So when Christina says you get dizzy standing in the field, because wow, it's a powerful oil. So yeah, I'm grateful for that oil. My husband, it's his favorite perfume that I wear. When I wear just pure ylang-a-lang behind my ears, on my wrist, it's his absolute favorite scent. So, all right. You can uncover your ears now if you're single.
If you can hear that, you should uncover your ears. Okay, so Mera Ocotea Farm in Ecuador, Pastaza province of Ecuador. This is so gorgeous. Oh my goodness. And this is beautiful because the Mera Ocotea farm occupies 120 acres in Ecuador's Pastanza province, and the province benefits from year-round rain.
And this is a fairly new purchase
Okay.
of land. We were there in 2020, just before the pandemic hit. And they had just recently purchased that because we didn't have enough Ocotea on the 1,000 acres that we had there in Guayaquil. So, yeah.
Good to know.
I just have to say that I'm grateful for Mary Young because taking over this position when Gary left us, of knowing that all of these farms around the world were now in her care. Oh my goodness, it takes a very, very strong woman to be able to step into that position. And I ask us to pray for Mary because it's overwhelming. My sister Jan, who's one of our team members, we come from a farming region in Iowa. And I'm only sitting here now thinking of one farm, and thinking of all of the things that one farmer has to deal with, including the weather, and the challenges. And now you look at what Young Living is doing around the world. My goodness gracious. Listen, guys, if there ever is a problem in the world, who's going to have essential oils? What company is going to have essential oils? Young Living. We're the ones that are going to have essential oils. So anyway, let's move on, sweetie.
And the beautiful part too is that Young Living did such a good job of teaching the workers at the farms how to do everything. Of course, he was kind of one of those one-man shows, in the fact that he could do everything. But before he passed away, he really empowered the growers, the distillers, the scientists, everyone to be able to step into their own shoes, and take pride in their work and everything that they do.
Yes.
So here's in Asia. This is fun because Mother and I have both been to Oman. She won the diamond trip there in 2013, and I got to be her lucky guest. Very blessed guest. But it was so neat because Gary actually took 35 of the leaders that went on that trip in 11 SUVs and drove us for 3 days all around Oman. And one thing he wanted to do was actually show us the multiple different species of frankincense trees that had been identified. And he'd identified 14 species of frankincense by that time in 2013, I believe.
Yes. And Sherry Ross was with us on that trip, and something came up on the Diamond Chat the other day. It was a question, and I just love the way Sherry answered that question. And it has to do with the authenticity of Young Living purchasing oils and having a presence in this country. Sherry was present when Gary received a letter from the actual government itself, honoring him for the work that he has done to educate some of the younger people in this country on how to care for the trees. And actually, Young Living was invited, officially invited by the government, to be involved in the caring of the frankincense trees moving forward. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but around the world, many of these trees that are hundreds and hundreds of years old are being cut down and turned just into fields for crops, because the younger generation decided it was just too much trouble to take care of these trees. So Young Living, of course, is on a mission to save these trees and never, cut them down. And whatever it takes is what we will do to keep these frankincense trees.
Okay, Taiwan. So Taiwan Cooperative Farm and Distillery. And the primary, what a gorgeous photo.
Mm-hmm.
So this cooperative farm is made up of smaller individual farm operations that each focus on different oils. Like each unique operation, each oil has its own story and background that includes its preservation, generational history, and family significance, and the ingenuity and innovation necessary to create it. So the ones here are the Jade Lemon, Han Kwai, Sang Mao, and Camphor Wood essential oil. And then one thing that's beautiful about partner farming, I will say, is that because specific families or groups of people have been taking care of a farm for generations, they really know the land well. They know the community well. They know how the business practices in that country work. So what Young Living does is has their own set of standards that any partner farm has to come along with. And if they do, and then they are checked on periodically throughout the year to make sure that they are following those seed to seal guidelines, it's a beautiful partnership between the people so that their land doesn't get bought and taken by, some outside force, but they get to still be the caretakers of it. And we get to be the wonderful recipients of the plants that are grown there.
Absolutely.
As well as wonderful worker compensation and things like that as well. Yeah. So here is in the Philippines is the is it Pili? Pili?
Well, I think it's pronounced Pili, yes.
Pili, Happy Pili Tree Farm and Distillery.
You know why that name is so good, Elizabeth? Because you and Beverly and I had the privilege of going to the Philippines a few years ago together. And what we discovered about the Filipino people is one thing, one word that describes them, and it's joy. They are the most joyful people, no matter what's going on in their life. If you ever have a problem, just meet a Filipino person, become their friend, and that joy will literally rub off on you. So that's a great name for the farm.
So true. And like I was saying, okay, so with the expertise on how to legally and sustainably source this precious plant and provide fair wages to workers, this farm protects natural resources and helps ensure long-term viability of high quality Elamite essential oil. So there we go. And let me just play the video because I have a feeling this will be very beautiful. So here is the Cayupe coconut farm in the Philippines. And this is located in the lush tropical landscape of the Philippines. Calipe provides Young Living with our main source of coconut oil. We choose Calipe because it shares YL's passion for giving back and supports communities by donating a portion of its profits every year to help fight generational poverty through education, leadership, and technology scholarship programs. The Calipe Coconut Farm also uses green chemistry, a new discipline that helps us to resource efficiently and eliminate waste in the production process. So there's more I want to look up about this coconut process, because I think that they're using the coconut shells to help refertilize. So there we go. Oh, Ningxia Wolfberry. Need I say more? I'm just going to play the video because Ningxia Wolfberry, as you all know, is our staple product with Young Living. The Ningxia Wolfberry or the Ningxia Red Juice. We have Ningxia Nitro, which is like an energy supplement source.
Ningxia Greens, our newest.
Greens that just came out. Okay, so if you look at the tiny little leaves here, Ningxia Greens are made out of the baby leaves just as they're sprouting on the Ningxia trees. So if you learn how potent Ningxia Red is, you'll also just have an image of how potent those Ningxia Greens will be as a part of your daily intake as well.
Absolutely.
So there we go for our Asia. Now, I'm going to try to move on a little more quickly, but here we go. Australia is Outback Botanical Reserve and Distillery in Darwin, Australia, and it produces the blue cypress essential oil. So, wow.
If anybody has a testimonial they want to share on blue cypress, please. We'd love to hear any testimonials you have on that oil.
Sure, absolutely. So then we have the Ord River Sandalwood Farm and Distillery in Australia. So this is a second kind of sandalwood, right?
Yes.
So this
sacred,
is sacred
sandalwood
versus the Hawaiian sandalwood. So those are two kinds of sandalwood. So while this farm is headquartered in Perth, these sandalwood plantations extend across Australia's tropical northern outback. The Ord River Sandalwood Farm and Distillery developed its own seed orchard, which allows for continual improvement of the seed stock. This location uses a remarkable approach to producing and cultivating sandalwood trees with the industry's highest quality, sustainability, and environmental stewardship. So here again, if the rest of the world doesn't have essential oils, Young Living is staying on top of it.
That's right.
And here we go, sustaining the future. So a key component to our seed to seal quality commitment is the sustainability of our essential oil products. Young Living is committed to implementing methods that take production, our partnership with nature, and the fair trade practices into consideration. Well, there we go. Ooh, and this is cool. The Ord River Sandalwood Farm and Distillery implements an array of innovative, award-winning methodologies while cultivating its valuable sandalwood trees. Its innovative water recycling program, commitment to renewable energy, and diligent replanting efforts ensure a supply of sacred sandalwood well into the future.
That reminds me, Elizabeth, when we were working with Gary up in northern Idaho, we never ever took a tree down with what we didn't plant a new tree. So, you know, that's important to know that that we are always replanting. So
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Oh, can I talk about this farm?
Yes, please
Oh
do.
my gosh. Simeon Laraton lavender farmer in a farm and distillery in France. You guys, if I were to recommend a family trip, if you could afford it, it would be this one, because it is so glorious. And the culture, the French people are so passionate about their lavender and so loving and so hospitable to us when we go there. It's glorious. And not only do we produce the lavender, we produce a lot of einkorn on this particular farm. There's a lot of einkorn going on, and it's in this tiny little village. And at the top of the village, we own a castle. Young Living owns a castle at the top of the village, and it is a beautiful educational center for people to come and learn about essential oils. And then we have a little shop where we sell different items. So if you guys want to take a week with your family and go here, oh my goodness. And if you want to do a team trip here, I'm all over that. I'm all about that.
Oh, I'm all over that.
If you guys want to, but look at how many oils we grow here. But you know, like I mean, I know that probably everyone has tried the einkorn granola, you know, but look at all the other things, you guys, spaghetti, the flake cereal. My husband loves the einkorn flake cereal. The berries themselves is what I use in my bread. I grind the berries in my wheat grinder and flour grinder and make the bread, and it is just to live for. And my cinnamon rolls and all of that. If you don't have a grinder, you can buy the einkorn flour already ground up. This has the proper amount of chromosomes that your body needs to sustain life. And one little side note, if you're new and you're maybe watching this and you haven't been with Young Living for a very long time, the funniest story about this farm is that originally Gary Young went to France, learned from all of the French farmers about this, partnered with them, and smuggled some lavender seeds back into America to plant in the United States. Fast forward 20 years later, France had a terrible thing happen to their crop. I don't know the name of it, but they lost all of the lavender farms in France were losing their crops. What was that, Christina? Oh, I thought I heard her say something. Anyway, and Gary Young took those same seeds that were in America, went back to France, and was able to help them to reforest their fields again. I mean, it's an absolutely amazing, miraculous story of
because of
restoration.
the lavender that Young Living's been growing in the US for the last 20 years now.
Exactly. So now, just to share this with you, Young Living is the largest owner of lavender farms in France now. So we are the largest distiller and owner of lavender farms in France.
Wow, that's so
Also,
special.
Elizabeth, I'll jump in here because my sister Jan Wager, and I got to go on the Young Living Diamond trip to Croatia. And it was, again, just absolutely heavenly. And this is where we get a lot of our helichrysum. It grows wild in Croatia. And so we get the helichrysum, and we also get sage essential oil from this farm. And it is truly, truly an amazing. Croatia is somewhat of an unknown treasure. In other words, you know, we all hear about France and Germany and all these beautiful countries, but this is truly a beautiful country, and much of it is on the water. And if you ever want to go to a fabulous place, and it's very affordable to travel there, it's very affordable to stay there. You can purchase a condo on the ocean for $300,000, an oceanfront 3-bedroom, 3-bath condo, $300,000. Okay, anybody thinking about retirement?
Yep, sounds like I need a second house there.
Anyway, that's okay. Let's move on because we're almost out of time. We've only got 4 minutes.
Oh, here we go. So Spain, the De Vida de Seville distillery. And so this one has our citrus essential oil, cistus, frankincense, and myrrh. Oh my goodness. I didn't know.
Elizabeth, one of our amazing platinum, Sandy Morris, and I got to go to this farm together. Again, Young Living on the diamond trips take you all over the world, but this was another diamond trip. And guys, when you're in the town of Seville, Spain, you walk all over town. You just walk all over town, and you will hear guys playing guitars, Spanish guitar music everywhere you go, and you'll see flamenco dancers, and you will just be transported to another era of music and passion. And so this is really, really worth your time to go and visit our farm in Seville, Spain.
Wow, very neat. Now, also in Spain is the Camino de Santiago, which is a trail that spans about 800 miles or 500 miles that I would love to go on. So
yes,
may need to make a dual trip here.
My sister did that, and it was a spiritual trip of a lifetime. She and her husband walked 500 miles, and it was a spiritual journey halfway between Spain and France.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And then here in Italy, we have the bergamot farm.
Yes.
Oh my
Bergamo.
goodness. I'm just going to mute this as we watch it, but how beautiful to have a farm in Italy as well.
Yes. And bergamot, you guys, if you've never really spent time with this oil, if you think of anyone that you know that struggles with addiction, maybe a smoking addiction or some kind of an addiction, this is the most amazing oil to keep in your pocket. And we've had a number of friends that just really wanted to quit smoking, and they had tried everything under the sun and nothing was working. So you pull it out of your pocket, breathe it, put a little bit under your nose, breathe it, or breathe it in your hands. And it really helps to overcome addictions. Maybe you have a food addiction or drinking addiction or something, but this is glorious, glorious oil, glorious fruit.
Well, and being a citrus fruit as well, it has those properties of your citrus.
The D-limonene properties.
Here's an interesting little fact. The farm's buildings rely 100% on solar energy during the off season. And Bella Vita Farm is a firm supporter of fair trade principles by incorporating practices such as transparency and accountability, non-discrimination, and respect for the environment.
So beautiful.
Very neat. Okay, so let's see. Oh my goodness. And there's another one. So this is einkorn, where more of our einkorn is grown. And so this is just einkorn. And dun, 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 dun. And this is in Salt, France.
Yes.
And the reason I love showing these videos, I know we are going a little bit long today, but just for the fact of seeing the beauty of these locations. I mean, imagine actually working on one of these farms. The lifestyle and the enhancement of a person's lifestyle just by working on a farm that is sustainable and clean and without pesticides and herbicides. And you know that those products are going to help so many people around the world.
Well, this einkorn, you guys, I can't stress it enough because 90% of all of the wheat, corn, and soy in America is genetically modified seeds. And it is not fit for human consumption. So by switching over to einkorn and getting a recipe book from Young Living so that your recipes taste good, they have to taste good. Switching over to this, you'll keep yourself healthy, your children and your grandchildren healthy, and getting away from all of these horrible things that are not fit for human consumption. Okay.
So this is Africa, our Amanzi Amale Cooperative Farm and Distillery. And this one specifically does the tea tree essential oil, eucalyptus, grapefruit, orange, and lemon.
You want to show the video without the audio? Let's see what it's like.
Sure.
Oh, who would not want to go to South Africa? Oh
Already?
my goodness sakes, who would not want to go there?
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Beverly's been there twice, you guys, twice. And by the way, we just had a glorious 10 days with Beverly. She stayed half the time at Elizabeth's home, half the time at my home. And her children, Eric and Emma, were with her. And we had been missing her so much. And we were so happy to have her with us for 10 days. She just drove, I think, 12 or 14 hours to get home 16. Last night. So hopefully she's sleeping. I'm hoping she's sleeping right now.
Well, she did check in with me this morning about 5 a.m. and said they made it. So they made it home. Good. It was actually a 16-hour drive back home.
Oh my goodness. That's a long drive. Oh.
But anyways, so to wrap this up, what an amazing thing that we have access to, you know, the farms, et cetera, and so I would love to know when anybody in our team is going to a farm, because it would be so fun to either, you know, be checking in and see your stories, see your videos, etc., but to cheer you on. And hopefully each of us on the team can at least get to one farm within our lifetime, because it truly is, I think, so enhancing to the experience of what we.
Can you show the logo on your shirt? Can you show us the logo on your shirt?
Yeah. So Mom actually gave me this shirt, and it's Young Living Percherons. I'll find the website, because Young Living has Percherons, draft horses, the black Friesians, like the Zorro horse. They are gorgeous, and this is really because Gary Young loved horses so much that he made horses a part of the harvesting, especially for the Northern Lights farms.
That's right.
The Idaho farms. Like, Mother has a picture of, there was a big old tree, chainsawed down, chopped down in the forest. Gary put the chains around it and was like, okay, Teri, you get to drag this thing out.
I was so terrified, but I did it. I did it afraid, and it was awesome. And then I want to comment on your shirt, honey, because this year, Young Living became the world champions in this very specific draft horse competition that Young Living has been competing in. We became the world champions in this with our horses. And that is truly, once again, a real testimony to Gary. So today, this week, Gary Young's birthday, we wanted to honor him and his legacy and share this with you guys so you can understand what a phenomenal company you're involved with. So you guys, thank you so much, Elizabeth. Great job. Thank you so much, honey.
Absolutely. Well, God bless. And until next week, stay tuned, and we will post the topic for next week. And lots of love to everyone. Bye-bye.
Love you guys. See you later.
See you later.